It is 3 in the morning. Your house is dark and quiet. The sky above your roof looks empty. It is not empty. Right now, above your neighborhood, something is happening that has no name in your language. Hundreds of thousands of birds are passing over your house tonight. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Hundreds of thousands. You cannot see them. You cannot hear them. They fly in complete darkness at altitudes up to 3,000 feet. They are heading north. They have been flying since sunset and they will not land until dawn breaks somewhere ahead of them. The hummingbird that will arrive at your feeder in May is out there right now. It crossed the Gulf of Mexico last night. 900 kilometers of open water. No food. No rest. Wings beating 53 times per second for 14 hours straight. That bird weighs 3 grams. The same as a single birthday candle. And it just crossed an inland sea alone in the dark. Here is what no one told you. The migration does not happen in the daytime. The migration happens at night. Every night. Over your house. This video is about what is actually passing over your roof right now, and why you have never in your entire life looked up and seen it. Twice a year, in spring and in fall, the sky above North America turns into a river. A biological river moving at altitude. On peak migration nights, weather radar stations across the continent pick up something strange. The screen fills with what looks like storm systems moving north. It is not a storm. The signal is biological. What the radar is seeing is the mass of living bodies dense enough to bounce radar waves back to the antenna. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology runs a program called Birdcast that processes this radar data in real time. Every spring and fall night they publish a live migration map. On peak nights, that map shows 300 million birds moving simultaneously across the eastern United States in a single evening. 300 million. That number is not a metaphor. It is a measured biological quantity derived from calibrated radar returns across a network of 143 stations. But the number that changes how you see the sky is this one. Over the course of a full spring migration season, more than 3 billion individual bird movements are recorded over North America. 3 billion crossings. Above cities. Above suburbs. Above your specific backyard, your specific roof, your specific bedroom window where you were sleeping. They fly at night for 3 reasons. The night air is cooler and denser, more efficient for sustained flight. There are fewer aerial predators hunting in darkness. And the third reason is the one that stops people when they first hear it. They navigate by the stars. They read the night sky the way a ship's captain reads a chart. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute spent years studying how songbirds orient during migration. What they found broke a simple assumption that had stood for decades. The birds are not following landmarks. They are not following rivers or coastlines, though those help. They are using the rotation of the night sky as a compass. In the first weeks of their lives, while still in the nest, juvenile birds memorize the axis of rotation of the stars above them. They find the point that does not move. That fixed point, the celestial north, becomes their internal compass bearing. Every migration they make for the rest of their lives departs from that memorized map of the sky. But the stars are only the beginning. In 2004, researchers confirmed something that had been theorized for 30 years but seemed too strange to be real. Birds see the Earth's magnetic field. Not metaphorically. Not as a sense of direction. They see it visually, overlaid on their normal field of vision like a transparent grid of light. This is made possible by a protein in their eyes called cryptochrome. When light strikes cryptochrome molecules, they produce paired electrons that are sensitive to magnetic field orientation. The result? A migrating bird looking at the sky at 3 in the morning sees something completely different from what you would see. It sees directional information embedded in the darkness itself. For a bird flying above your roof tonight, the world is not dark. It is mapped. It is legible. It is full of information that human evolution never gave us access to. Now let us talk about the bird heading for your yard. Not as a species. As an individual. As the specific animal that will land on your specific feeder in 6 weeks. The ruby-throated hummingbird is the only hummingbird species that breeds east of the Mississippi River. Every single ruby throat in the eastern United States winters in Central America. Every spring they leave. Every spring they come back. The same birds, to the same gardens, to the same feeders, to the same trees in the same backyards. Researchers have documented individual hummingbirds returning to the exact same feeder within a 2-day window year after year, for up to 9 consecutive years. That is not a coincidence. That is navigation precise enough to return to a specific object in a specific yard in a specific city after flying 3,000 miles and spending 5 months in another country. The bird that will hover in front of your face in May carrying that information in its 3-gram body has already passed over your house. Tonight, in the dark, here is what the journey looks like from the bird's perspective. In late April in the Yucatan Peninsula or the coast of Belize, something shifts. Day length triggers a hormonal cascade. The bird begins eating with an urgency it has not had all winter, doubling its body weight in 2 weeks, converting almost all of it to fat. The fat will be its only fuel. There are no gas stations over the Gulf of Mexico. There are no branches to rest on. There is nothing below but open water for 900 kilometers. The bird waits for a weather window. A cold front moving south pushes northwest winds behind it. When those winds turn southerly, when the wind shifts to push the bird north, it departs. It launches from the coastline after sunset. Within an hour it is over open water with no land visible in any direction. It will not see land again for 14 to 18 hours. Its heart is beating 1,200 times per minute. Its wing muscles consume stored fat at a rate that would kill a human athlete in under an hour. At some point during the crossing, researchers believe around the midpoint, the bird's fuel reserves drop below what would be needed to turn back. The only option is forward. What happens inside the body of an animal that has passed the point of no return, still flying, still navigating by stars and magnetic fields above a dark sea in the middle of the night? This is the part that the data cannot fully explain. The bird continues. The bird has always continued. Its ancestors made this same crossing for millions of years before there were humans to watch them do it. As dawn breaks, the Texas or Louisiana coastline appears below. The bird descends. It lands in the first available vegetation, often a narrow coastal scrub, a beach hedge, anything green. It eats immediately. It rests for 1 to 3 days. Then it departs again, moving north, feeding as it goes, following the same invisible route encoded in its nervous system at birth. Now here is something the hummingbird is not doing alone. On the same nights it is making that Gulf crossing, something else is happening at a different scale entirely. The warblers are moving. 60-plus species of wood warbler migrate through the eastern United States every spring, most of them at night, most of them invisible to the people living below them. The thrushes are moving. Swainson's thrush, the hermit thrush, the veery, birds that spend their days in dense forest undergrowth, completely hidden, moving through your suburb at altitude after midnight. The robin that sings in your yard in June, the one whose song you hear through your bedroom window at dawn, passed over your roof 3 weeks before that. At night, while you slept. The birdcast team can calculate for any given night how many birds passed over any specific zip code in the United States. The numbers are not small. On a peak spring migration night in the Ohio River Valley, more than 900,000 birds per hour cross a 100-kilometer band of sky. 900,000 per hour. If you were standing outside and looking up on one of those nights, you would see nothing unusual. The birds are above the tree line, often above the cloud layer, moving in darkness and silence. But they are there, right above you. An invisible river of life flowing northward, a few hundred feet over the rooftops, every spring night for the entire duration of human civilization. People have been sleeping under this migration for as long as people have existed in North America. Almost none of them ever knew it was happening above their houses. There is one way to hear it. On clear nights with low cloud ceilings, when the migration is dense, some species call as they fly. Short soft contact notes in the dark. These are called flight calls. Each species has a distinct call, a sound no longer than a quarter of a second, repeated intermittently. Not a song. A pulse. A signal in the dark. Naturalists who specialize in nocturnal migration set up microphones in their backyards on peak migration nights and record for hours. The results are extraordinary. A single recording made in a suburban backyard in New Jersey during a May migration night contained identifiable flight calls from 37 distinct species in a single 8-hour session. 37 species of birds, calling softly to each other in the dark, passing over a house where someone was asleep, completely unaware of what was happening above the roof. What was passing over that roof on that night? Yellow warblers, blackpoll warblers, rose-breasted grosbeaks, scarlet tanagers, birds that in daylight would stop traffic in a park. Invisible, silent to the human ear that was not listening. Above the rooftops of a suburb, navigating by stars and magnetic fields toward forests and meadows further north. Now here is where the story changes. Because the migration is not just a spectacle. It is a system, and the system is under pressure in a way that has no precedent in the history of these birds. In 2019, a study published in Science analyzed 7 decades of population data for North American breeding birds. The number at the center of that study was so large it took years to be taken seriously. Since 1970, North America has lost approximately 3 billion individual birds. Not 3 billion species. 3 billion individual animals, about 29% of the total bird population of the continent. 3 billion birds gone from the sky. The migration river that passed over your house tonight is flowing at roughly 70% of the volume it was flowing at when your parents were your age. The causes are understood: habitat loss at breeding and wintering grounds, glass buildings that kill during migration, outdoor cats, pesticides reducing insect populations that migratory birds depend on for fuel. This is the part the data makes unavoidable. The bird heading for your feeder in May, that 3-gram navigator that crossed the Gulf last night, is arriving into a world with fewer flowers, fewer insects, fewer safe corridors than the world its ancestors flew into. And yet it comes back. Every year it comes back. The same bird, to the same yard, to the same feeder, navigating across a continent by starlight and magnetic fields because it was born knowing your address. Let us talk about what you can actually do with this information. Because there is a specific action that makes your yard a more viable landing point during migration. Migratory birds need 2 things when they land after a night flight: water and insects. Not sunflower seeds. Not mixed grain. Insects, specifically caterpillars and small invertebrates. The single most effective thing a yard can do for migrating songbirds is support native plants. Not because they are beautiful. Because native caterpillars only eat native plants. A native oak tree supports over 500 species of caterpillar. A Bradford pear, the ornamental tree planted in millions of American yards, supports fewer than 10. The difference is a fuel stop or no fuel stop. A yard with native plantings in the migration corridor can support dozens of migrating species per season that would otherwise fly over without stopping. Birds that would otherwise remain invisible above your roof. Water matters more than most people realize. A shallow bird bath, 6 centimeters of water, no deeper, with the sound of dripping or moving water can pull migrants down from altitude during a nighttime stopover. The sound of moving water at night is a navigational cue for birds descending through cloud or haze. They are listening for streams and wetlands as landing cues. Your birdbath can sound like a stream. But let us come back to what is happening right now. Not in general. Tonight specifically. Above your specific neighborhood at this specific hour. The birdcast migration forecast for tonight is generated from atmospheric models that predict how many birds will be aloft based on wind direction, cloud cover, temperature gradients, and moon phase. You can check it. The website is birdcast.info. You can type in your location and see, within about a 24-hour window, what the migration forecast is for your specific area. On a peak night, the forecast will show a number. Maybe 400,000 birds per hour over your county. Maybe 600,000. The number is abstract until you go outside and look up. What you will see is an ordinary sky. Stars or clouds or moonlight. Nothing moving. Nothing visible. The migration is happening above the threshold of human perception without instruments. But if you stay outside long enough and if the night is clear and if you know where to look, you can sometimes see them. Not the birds themselves. Their silhouettes against the moon. Find the moon. Binoculars help but are not necessary. On a peak migration night, if you watch the face of the moon for several minutes, you will see small dark shapes crossing it. They move fast and too small to identify. A shape crosses the moon's face in under a second. Then another. Then a gap. Then 3 together. Then silence. Then more. Each shape is a bird. Each bird is navigating by the same moon you are looking at, using it not as a target but as a reference point for orientation against the stars rotating around it. You and the bird are using the same object in the sky at the same moment in completely different ways. You're watching. It is navigating. It is on its way to your yard. Now here is what I want you to understand. The migration has been happening above your house every spring and every fall since before your house was built. Before your neighborhood existed. These routes are old. Older than roads. Older than cities. The flyways that birds follow correspond to geological features, river valleys, coastlines, mountain ridges, that have existed for millions of years. Your house was built inside a migration corridor that was already ancient when the first humans arrived in North America. Every spring since then, the birds have kept coming, adjusting around the new obstacles. They adjusted around the first wooden buildings, around the first towns, around the first cities. They are still adjusting, around glass towers, around communication towers, around the expanding rings of light pollution. And on peak migration nights, even now, even with everything that has changed, the radar still lights up. The river still flows. Above the cities. Above the suburbs. Above your roof. The hummingbird that is going to hover in front of your kitchen window and may does not know the number 3 billion. It does not know what that number means. It only knows the route. It learned the route before it left its birthplace. It filed the magnetic signature of your region into a navigational system so precise it can locate a specific feeder in a specific yard in a specific city. It crossed an inland sea in the dark, running on fat reserves, guided by stars and magnetic fields, and it is now moving north through the night air above your neighborhood at this moment. Not in the general sense that birds are always somewhere. Right now. Tonight. This season. The specific individual that will arrive at your yard is somewhere in the sky above the eastern United States. There is a version of this that is simply a beautiful natural phenomenon. And there is a version where you realize that this has been happening above your house every night for weeks and you never looked up. Both versions are true. And the second version is the one that changes something. Because you cannot unknow it now. The sky above your yard at 3 in the morning is not empty anymore. It is full of birds you have fed. Birds that will come back. Birds navigating by light and magnetism above a sleeping neighborhood that has no idea they are there. Go outside tonight if you can. Find the moon. Give your eyes 5 minutes to adjust. Watch the face of the moon and wait. If the migration is moving tonight, you will see them. Small shapes. Fast. Gone before you have time to name them. Each one a 3-gram navigator with a map of the stars and a memory of your yard encoded in its nervous system. Each one a bird that has crossed the sea to get back to you. Each one on its way somewhere was born knowing. The question that people always ask after learning this is, how have I never known? How did no one ever point this out? Why isn't this the first thing we tell children about birds? I do not have a good answer. The migration has been documented for over a century. The radar data has been publicly available for decades. The flight call recordings are on free apps anyone can download. The information has always been there. The sky above your house has always been full. You just did not know to look up at the right hour in the right direction with the right question. Now you do. The next peak migration night in your area. Check the birdcast forecast. Go outside around midnight, find the moon and watch. Tell me in the comments what you see.